Alright, hey there, YouTube. This is Wolfman here with the Wolfman Review. Um, this is my beautiful fiance. Her name is Nikki. I don't know what her web name is going to be as of yet, so we're just going to call her Nikki. Sorry, I got to get everything looking nice and proper for this, I guess. So, today, what we're doing is a Wolfman review on The Killing Joke and Captain America Civil War. So, what we're going to do is we're going to start off with The Killing Joke. Now, in my opinion, it was a decent movie. It had a lot of things that did not belong there. Starting off with the first around 30 minutes or so, having this whole big story about Batgirl. Now, if you know anything about Batman, you're just a common, everyday fan, you at least know a little something about Batgirl, whether it's Barbara Gordon or one of the other Batgirls. I mean, there's Cassandra Cain, who's Batwoman. I mean, there's a lot of different versions, but she's not that big of a comic book fan. She's not. I'm the one that's been getting her into all of that stuff.
But I knew enough before watching the movie that I was already connected to Batgirl.
Yeah, she already had somewhat of a connection to Batgirl, so it didn't really fit or mesh with the overall story of the movie. And in the comic, you didn't get any of that. That was just a bunch of background that was added there. Then once you get in, that's Ruby. Then once you get into the actual story itself, it was good. It was good. The art was kind of choppy at places, and I thought it was a decent movie. It was not what I expected it to be, and I wanted to like it a lot more than I did. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. I'm a huge Joker fan. Anybody who's watched any of my videos knows how big of a Joker fan I am. You can ask her. I'm absolutely insane over the Joker.
All in all, it was a decent movie. But they could have done so much more with it.
It could have been a lot better if they had paid more tribute to the actual comic rather than the background story that started off at the beginning of the movie. It was like two movies in one, honestly. You got a short movie about Batgirl, then you got The Killing Joke. And unfortunately, it's supposed to be Batman, The Killing Joke, not Batgirl, then The Killing Joke. And it was just a lot of unnecessary satire that was involved in there. I mean, I didn't see a point in it. I knew about Batgirl. A lot of diehard animated fans, even if they don't read the comics, if you've seen any of the live action movies, they've had Batgirl appear repeatedly. Well, not really repeatedly, but they've had Batgirl in the movies. They've had Batgirl in Batman the Animated Series. If you're a fan of Batman, you know Batgirl. Even the casual, everyday, not that big a fan, but will stop in to watch the show if it comes on, knows about Batgirl. There's no point in putting this. Plus, oh my god, there was one scene that was very unnecessary. It was a sex scene. I mean, you didn't see anything. You just saw Batgirl pull off her cowl, pull off her shirt, and Batman's still pretty much in his suit, but they have sex. What's the point of that? What is the point? Yeah, it has an R rating. You could have done a lot more, but still, as my fiance has said, it was a decent movie. Overall, if you're an everyday person and you're not that much into comics, and you're not that much into the real big stuff like I am, I can tell you details that not a lot of people can tell you unless you constantly read the comics. But she's just a casual comic book goer now. I've gotten her up to that point. Don't worry, guys. I'm going to get her better. I promise. But it's just, they could have done a lot more with it. And it wasn't my favorite movie, no matter how much I wanted it to be. I wanted to love this movie more than anybody else. Oh, you okay?
Yeah.
This Ruby, you guys remember Ruby from the last video I posted. Now, we were actually supposed to make this video yesterday, but kind of got caught up in a couple of things, so it didn't necessarily happen like we wanted it to.
Ruby, say hi.
So, but yeah, I watched a review video on it. I've watched 2 to 3 different review videos on it. They all pretty much say the same thing that we're saying right now. And I wanted them to be wrong. I really, really wanted them to be wrong because I'm a Joker fan. I'm probably one of the biggest Joker fans. I cosplay the Joker, and I do a damn good job at it. And for them to do this to, the definitive Joker story just kind of disappointed me. Okay, so what was your overall view of it, babe?
My overall view was,
I mean,
for the most part, it was decent, but it was not pulled out of the comic like I thought it would be.
She's listened to the motion comic with me. I've read the comic myself. Like, I've actually read through it. Then we sat there and I had her listen to the motion comic and watch it as it went through. So she knows what the Killing Joke is. She knows about that. And, I mean, once they got to the actual story of the Killing Joke, it was almost ripped completely from the comic.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, granted, the animation was a little funky at times, and then other times it was amazing. One of my favorite scenes they ripped directly out of the comic. It was right after the Joker shot Barbara Gordon, and it's just, he has the white face, but the hat covers his eyes to where it's just right here, and he has the pure white dots. Just the eyes glimmering with dark intent. And it was perfect. They ripped that straight out of the comic. Amazing. There were a couple of scenes where they recreated it really, really well.
And then there were other scenes where they definitely did not do the job that they should have.
Yeah, it was just all 10 kinds of wrong. I mean, overall, it was a good movie, and if you're just a casual watcher of Batman films every here and there, I recommend you go get it. Where are you going? Okay, so I'm going to continue to talk about the Killing Joke for a little bit while she changes Ruby. Like we said, it could have been better in a lot of places, and in a lot of places they did perfect. But the one scene, I mentioned it a little while ago, the sex scene between Barbara and Batman, well, Batgirl and Batman, was just, it was unnecessary, and it was really, really forced. Like, you can tell it was extremely forced. And there was no point. What's the point of it? That entire story was just to get you to feel closer to Batgirl's character. And I mean, granted, yeah, if you're just a casual person, this is one of your first Batman movies, then yeah, you need that. But if you know anything about Batman, which most people do, most people who don't even like comics know about Batman and Batgirl and Robin, Nightwing, stuff like that. Like, you know the basic overalls, but you may not know the details. You know the overall story, but you don't know the details to it. So, I mean, it's understandable why they did it, but it didn't mesh. It didn't fit the story at all. And it just kind of annoys me because, like I said, once they got to the Killing Joke portion of it, yeah, it fit almost perfect. I mean, yeah, animation. And I mean, they did add in and change up certain things, but they could have done a lot more with an R rating than what they did. There were times where I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see why this is rated R, and there were times where like this is almost too family friendly to be rated R, and there's no point in getting an R rating. So I guess what I'm saying is, from my point of view, and even even from Nikki's, the movie was okay. It wasn't what the movie could have or should have been. Big Bang Theory is on in the background, but it it was a good movie for what it was. If you look at it as a standalone, not based from, you know, not at all based from the comic book, it was actually pretty decent. It really was. It's a decent movie. It was actually pretty good. As a standalone. Not as a comic based movie. If you look at it as anything towards the comic book, it is just not fantastic at all. It is actually pretty low key on the details for the comic. I mean, it was nowhere near as dark as I would have liked it to have been. I mean, yeah, it was kind of dark, but it was nothing compared to the comic. The comic was so much darker. I mean, they even had this weird song and dance number, which I actually really liked. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I thoroughly enjoyed that song and dance number because, I mean, you have the song in the comic, but there's no music to it. And you don't really get to hear the Joker's voice. But in the movie, you got a little dance number to it, too. I mean, they extended the fight scene too, and that they didn't have the Batman didn't have to go through that many henchmen to get to the Joker before, and that's, I mean, it was just really to boost the running time. It was only an hour and 16 minutes, so it really wasn't necessary. It was just mainly to boost the runtime. All right, so any final thoughts on The Killing Joke?
I just really didn't like how the story of the beginning of Batgirl.
It just kind of overshadowed the entire rest of the movie. Yeah. Like I said, if you're just a casual person who's only ever really seen the animated universe, at some point you know who Batgirl is. If you know,
they didn't need to try and put in that much character connection.
Yeah. Like, there was way too much effort in creating a connection there between Batman and Batgirl. I mean, it did give him more motive to go after the Joker, so he had to fight harder not to kill the Joker at the end of the movie. But the fact is, and the fact remains, that by all technicality, even though it was left very ambiguous at the end of the comic, it was stated that the Joker technically died at the end of that comic. Like, so, just, they didn't even give the ambiguousness of the possible death of the Joker at the end of the movie, and it just wasn't the greatest.
It wasn't what it could have been.
Yeah, it could have been so much better, but it wasn't. So, I mean, take it as it is. Like it or don't. Leave some comments down below. We'll get back to them. Apparently, I don't have any comments on my videos. I had one, but it was kind of stupid. So I deleted it because there was no point in having that there. So, on to the next subject. Captain America's Civil War. Now, this movie is what a live-action comic movie... I mean, granted, I loved Batman vs. Superman. I don't care what anyone else says. That movie was great. Like, I'm an avid comic book reader. You can ask her. If I don't go out and read the comic myself, I will sit on YouTube for hours on end and watch comic book videos. And they had so many different comic influences in Batman vs. Superman. What people didn't like about it was that it was somber and sad, which is what this movie was meant to be. It was meant to be a very serious comic book movie. Captain America Civil War was exactly what it was supposed to be. I mean, granted, they didn't have all of the superheroes that they had in the comic. And they changed the reasoning for a lot of things. But you also have to understand that this is the movie universe. This is not the comic book universe. Now, in the multiverse, for Marvel, the movie universe is its own contained universe. Period. It is its own universe. It has, yes, it follows the comics to an extent, but it is its own separate universe. They have a number for it. I cannot, for the life of me, remember what the number of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is. But the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the comic book universe, the animated universe, the Lego universe, they're all honest universes in the multiverse. So, I'm going to say this right off the bat. Spider-Man, to me, stole the movie. Like, he was only in a few scenes. He was in the one fight scene where they had all of the superheroes fighting together. He was in that scene, and that's it. They had Iron Man go and get Peter Parker, then they had the fight scene where Spider-Man came in. And Spider-Man literally stole the movie. I mean, ask her. She saw it with me. Spider-Man was... What was your favorite part of the movie?
That's not an easy question. I really liked the movie as a whole, but I did really enjoy Spider-Man and the way that they actually portrayed him as so young.
Yeah, because originally in the Captain America Civil War storyline, if I remember correctly, it's been a while since I've read it, so I'm going to go back and do that. He was actually either fresh out of high school or still in high school when it was going on. I love what they did with Spider-Man. I love what they did with Spider-Man because... And he had the quick wit that Spider-Man had. He had, like, just... one of my favorite scenes is whenever him and Bucky Barnes, James Buchanan Barnes, Bucky, the Winter Soldier, first clashed. Bucky went to go throw that metal arm at him. Spider-Man catches it. He goes, "You have a metal arm? That's so cool, dude!" And then he gets nailed by Falcon. And all he can yell is, "You have the right to remain silent!" I mean, it was perfect. Like, line for line, I could see Spider-Man doing that in the comics. I mean, it was spot on perfect for Spider-Man, in my opinion. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. I've been a Spider-Man fan since the animated series. I've seen quite a few of those. I've either read or watched quite a few videos that have to do with Spider-Man. So Spider-Man's one of my favorite characters. Like, I've started liking Spider-Man whenever I was really young. So to see Spider-Man portrayed so accurately in a movie, just, it hit me. It did. And then, they did one of the most iconic scenes from the Captain America, from the Civil War storyline, which is Ant-Man riding on the Arrow. They did that, nailed it. Then they introduced, granted, yeah, it's Scott Lang. It's not Hank Pym like it should have been, but it's still Ant-Man. Then they introduced the Giant Man aspect into it, because he's got an upgraded suit in this, and he's got this thing he adjusts the size that he can grow to, hit his grow button, boom, turn into Giant Man. You hear that? She hasn't even seen the movie and she's agreeing with me. Boom! But yeah, he turns into Giant Man, and I thought that was amazing. Like, it was comic book wet dream right there. And then this was a perfect combination of drama, action, and comedy. Spider-Man's quick wit throughout his entire part in the movie was great. I thoroughly enjoyed Spider-Man's part. I love what they did with the actual storyline. The fight scene between Captain America and Iron Man towards the end of the movie was amazing. Just overall, as a whole, the movie was great. And that's something I don't get to say about a lot of things that I watch, because I am a huge comic book nerd. You guys know this. I've sat here and reviewed and done so much with comic books on this channel. I think my fiance is tickling my daughter and making her giggle. We're having a little giggle fest here. But I did have, it wasn't all good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here saying it was the greatest comic book movie ever. There were some things that I had issue with. Like the fact that Spider-Man started off on Iron Man's team. In the comics, he transferred from Cap's to Iron Man towards the end of the story arc. Granted, they did good for what they did. For what they did with the live action movie, it was good. And again, you have to realize that the movie universe is its own universe. Black Panther was another good one. I thoroughly enjoyed what they did with Black Panther. The new costume for the live action was amazing. I love that they involved Red Wing with Falcon. Like Falcon's pet falcon, Red Wing. Granted, it was a digital air drone that Falcon could control. And then the commentary, or how do I put this? The dialogue between the characters. The dialogue between the characters were amazing. Like, one of my favorite things that happened between characters was right after Spider-Man was fighting Bucky and Falcon together, he webbed both of them up. And he goes, "Hey guys, look, I'd love to stay here and do this a little bit more, but I've got one job here today, and I've really got to impress Mr. Stark." And he goes to web him, and all of a sudden, here comes Red Wing, connects to his wrist. He's like, "Wait, what the?" And takes off flying, hits part of a rafter, and goes out of a window. And Bucky's sitting there like, "You couldn't have done that earlier?" And Falcon's over here like, "I hate you." And it's just the witty banter the witty banter between them made it so great. So, what were your thoughts and opinions on the movie? I've given so many of mine already.
I really liked it as a whole. I haven't gotten into the comics at all, so I can't really give much of an opinion on that. I liked the characters. I liked what they did with them, and
she's more of a cinematic universe kind of girl. She only hears about the comics through what I do. That's about it. What, Ruby? What? Aya, you need to quit throwing your tantrum. She really wants her mom right now.
All in all, I felt it was a great movie. They did a great job with the plot line. And
Ruaya, stop. Either you stop, or I'm gonna go put you in timeout. Alright, continue, babe. You felt that they did a great job with the plot line. The plot line was really good. Like, overall, the story that they did with Captain America Civil War, that's fucking light. Ruaya! Excuse me. My daughter's throwing a tantrum. Nope, that's enough. Nope, that's enough.
from what I've seen of Iron Man, Captain America, and Captain America's bond with Bucky, everything they did with the Winter Soldier part of it, and Captain America finding out that it was not Bucky himself doing the Winter Soldier things, but
it was them controlling his mind.
Yeah.
And doing what they did psychologically to him. And just the bond they have being the fact that they served together, that they did this with one another. They served in the military together. You know, Bucky Barnes was the right-hand man of Captain America during World War II, whenever, you know, you had Captain America's Roughnecks and all that stuff. They did a really good job with the bond between Chris Evans and Sebastian Stan, the actors who played Captain America and Bucky Barnes. They did a really good job having that bond there. And, I mean, they did a fight scene where it was a collaboration fight scene with Bucky and Captain America versus Iron Man by himself. And, I mean, they were throwing the shield to one another, attacking Iron Man, like, Iron Man's... I'm Iron Man, you have Bucky Barnes right here, you have Captain America right here, and they're just beating on me. And I mean, they're throwing the shield, they're working in tandem perfectly. I mean, just overall, the action was there, the drama was there from everything, just, you know, it was an overall amazing movie. And from a comic book reader standpoint and a comic book nerd standpoint, such as myself, I give the movie a thumbs up. I do. From being your average, everyday, casual comic book movie goer, she gives it a thumbs up. So, I mean, that tells you something right there. Now, with that being said, we're going to bring this video to a close because it's going on around 30 minutes long. That's going to take forever to upload. So, as always, stay safe, stay beautiful, YouTube. Love you guys.